Welcome back to another edition of the Barrel Proof Baseball podcast. We're here today with Cody Decker. Cody is from Santa Monica, California. He's a UCLA Bruin, two-time All-Pac-10 selection, drafted in the 22nd round by the San Diego Padres, and retired from professional baseball in 2019 and has moved on to some other endeavors in life. So, Cody, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk baseball, talk some whiskey, two of my big passions, especially the whiskey portion.
Yeah, I was stoked we were able to connect over Twitter and break down a little bit of whiskey and get to chat about it a little bit and get to make this happen. So appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man. Really.
What are you starting with? I know you had a couple of options you're going with.
So I'm currently in El Paso, Texas. I am not in Los Angeles, California. If I was in Los Angeles, I've showed you my bar. You showed me yours. Mm-hmm. Very, very, very extensive bar. I love it. A lot of whistle pig. A lot of tealing. You got a lot of tealing. Yeah. I have a lot of Jack Daniels, but that is not because I'm a diehard Jack Daniels fan. I am a big Jack Daniels fan, but I'm actually more of a single malt Irish whiskey fan. So I have a ton of single malts in my Jack Daniels barrel bar. But I do have a couple of specialties here today. I do have my number one favorite whiskey. It's my go-to any chance I get. If I'm in a bar or a restaurant and they have this, I'm not drinking anything else. I don't care what they have. If they just have the 12 of this, the 12-year, it's all I need. It's a 12-year of this is better than a 50-year of anything else, and that is single malt Irish whiskey, Napogue Castle. The 12-year is amazing. I have another bottle of the 12-year at home. I have a nice 30-year-old small batch bottle at home and one bottle of the 21 that I try not to ever open unless it's a special occasion. So I'm really excited to start with that. And later I got a little Four Roses small batch that I'm really, I'm just a fan of it. It's just a good bourbon.
Have you had the small batch select yet?
I have not at all.
It's pretty good.
I'm going to have to get on that. Yeah. I just like the small batch because it's such a good bourbon for a really reasonable price.
Yeah.
And my last one, I'm not going to announce right now because it is just too special.
Yeah. I'm stoked to hear about that one because I want to try that one out too. Yeah. I really like the Four Roses. I'm with you. That small batch is good. I've been hit or miss on the single barrel. I had a couple of good bottles. I've had a couple of not so good bottles, but the small batch is super consistent. Dig that one.
I've never had an issue with the single barrel when it comes to, like taste. I've always had the same taste with them. I have had a varying degree of headaches the next day though, that have been very significantly noticeable.
Yeah. Oh, I believe it. Cause that goes down a little easy. Yeah. I'm going to start with, I'm going to start with the Whistle Pig 10-year.
Nice.
And I just got into ryes, which is weird because I was just not a big rye fan. Mm-hmm. And I got the sample of the Whistle Pigs with the 10, 12, and 15-year. Loved them. I thought the price for the 10-year compared to the 15 was just – I could justify the 10-year price, but the 15-year price, it wasn't good. It wasn't that much better to justify the jump in price. So.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree with you. There's a lot of less aged bottles of whiskey that are – far better. Like for instance, one of my favorite whiskeys, and a lot of people, especially if you're into Irish whiskeys, Redbreast. Redbreast 12 is amazing. Mm-hmm. The 15, it is battery acid. It is undrinkable. I can't believe it's the same brand. But the 18's amazing. I don't know what's going on in year 15, but don't drink it.
I had the 12. Really like the 12. I don't know if it's like an everyday type drink. It's hitting that like $50 to $60 mark. So it's kind of, for an everyday, it's getting up there in price a little bit, but it's pretty good, man. I definitely dig that 12-year for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. It really is. But, you mentioned L.A. I mean, you're a coach for the Dodgers organization. Are you from the L.A. area?
Yeah, Huntington Beach.
Oh, look at that. Really close. I love that.
Yeah, not far at all. So
look at that. We're neighbors, man.
We didn't get up to L.A. area much. We went down to San Diego a bit more.
I get that.
So
back at that time, it was a much more inviting time to go to San Diego than it was to go to Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's a fun town for sure. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cool things down there. And then going to Padres games, like after the game, going down to what's the downtown out there?
Gaslamp District. What a cool place, man.
Yeah, that whole area is awesome.
When I got to the big leagues, I lived in the Omni across the street.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just dinner in the Gaslamp District. It was so cool. Loved it.
Great spot. Well, look, I want to get into a little bit of your baseball experiences. Obviously, you spent 7 years in the minor leagues, right, before your first big league call up.
My first and really my only big league call
Only.
up. I mean, my career is as Crash Davis as it gets. It's I finished my career riding on buses telling people about my 20 days in the show. Like, yeah, I was there, and you'll never believe it. But yeah, I got up in 2015 with the San Diego Padres. I didn't really get a chance to play, unfortunately. I got a couple of pinch hit appearances. I got one start. Sadly, no hits, but I did get an RBI. And it was nice to get a chance to the big leagues. But looking back, I wish I got a chance to actually play and show what I can do. But how can I ever be bitter about it? I got a chance to say that I'm a big leaguer, and I owe the San Diego Padres that for the rest of my life.
What was that like? I mean, what's that? What I think that's that moment like everybody dreams of, getting called up to the big leagues and finding out that you're going to be a big leaguer. Like, what was that like for you to find out?
Weird, actually, because I played in the Padre organization for 7 years, and at that point I had every offensive record the Padres had in the minor leagues. I had their home run record by like over 40 at the time.
Wow.
I had their RBI record, total base record, and I was just like, hey, maybe you can let me play in the big leagues once, because I just one time, because I keep hitting 30 home runs and I keep getting shorted like 150 at bats. So I'm still hitting home run like one every 11 at bats, and I put up good numbers. Maybe you should give me a shot. And I always heard about how terrible I was, but I had a blast playing, and I no matter what I did, I wanted to make sure my clubhouses were as fun as possible. If I was going to be that guy that was going to be stuck in AAA, I mean, you've been around pro baseball enough that you know how AAA does not lend itself to the most friendly of atmospheres. You got enough guys on the team that have been to the big leagues that are in the minor leagues now that are, they're getting screwed. Well, in their eyes, they're getting screwed. The young guys at the time, young guy like me at the time going like, hey, I haven't gone to the big leagues. I'm getting screwed. The pitchers, hey, I'm getting screwed because I'm on the taxi squad. It's so easy to get negative in AAA. And my first experience in AAA really taught me that. I played on a team that was extraordinarily bitter. And from that point on, I'm like, I will never be in a clubhouse like that again. So when I got a chance to get called up to the big leagues, it was kind of a weird thing because it was my final game with the Padres. I was in AAA in El Paso. We just played a playoff game, got knocked out. I sat in the clubhouse after the game, no calls. I'm like, oh, well, I guess that's it. And a part of me kind of thought, I guess maybe my career's over. I mean, if the Padres never called me up, what's it going to be like another team comes along and be like, hey, you were there for 7 years, but what's wrong with you? That was honestly a real worry in my head that I'm like, maybe this is it for me. I remember I flew home the next day and I was at baggage claim. And at that night, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, we were on the phone, a lot of tears where I was telling her, I think I'm going to retire. I think, the only thing that sucks is I would have loved to get the call up just so I can say it was all worth it. And I remember the next day I was in baggage claim, and it was a very depressing night and morning. But I'm sitting there at the baggage claim, and then I did send a text message to our head of player development, and because it was his first year doing the job, and he was young. He was like the same age as me. So I just want to say, hey, man, congratulations on everything this year. Thank you for the year. And I know you're going to be amazing at this job, and I wish you guys all the luck going forward. Really do. Thank you. And I got a phone call from him that next day while I had a baggage claim, and I'm just thinking he's calling to thank me for the nice note. At no point did it cross my mind what this conversation was going to be about. And it was Sam Gainey, by the way. And Sam Gainey's a really nice guy. I really like Sam Gainey. And he just had the conversation. He's like, I wanted to thank you for the note. I said, oh, no problem. It's going to be great. And I love the Padres and I love you guys. Thank you so much for all these years. Maybe we'll talk down the road and maybe next year I'll, still be around. And he just goes, well, I know you've been in this organization a long time. You put up huge numbers. You have kind of been passed over quite a few times. So it really breaks my heart to call you because I know you have people in this organization you're really, really close with. I said, yeah. He's like, but I hate to inform you that the team needs you in Arizona. You're going to the big leagues. And I just took a pause and I was just like, listen, Sam, here's the deal. And I had this moment of clarity. Instead of being excited, I heard what he said. It was like a shot, just an absolute, it shouldn't have been a gut punch, but it was a gut punch. And I'll tell you why. Because my first thought was, listen, I've played a lot of pranks. And some of them went viral, and some of them I haven't gotten my comeuppance on yet, and I know it's eventually coming. So I'm just like, listen, if this is a prank, I want you to know it's great. And I would honestly tell you, though, based on the night I just had, it would be going too far. So I really need you to tell me whether or not this is true. And he just laughed. He's like, no, you're going to the big leagues. You're joining the team. We have an off day today. I want you to go home, tell your family, and fly out tomorrow morning. And I just said, unbelievable.
Wow.
And what was really weird about it, the moment I got off that phone call, I mean the moment to the second, my phone pings. And it was Reggie Smith, who was my hitting coach growing up, my mentor. He was a hitting coach for the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 90s, of course, over 300 home runs, switch hitter, played for the Dodgers for years, won a World Series there in 81. And he just sent me a text message and said, I knew it. Congratulations. And I just went, wait, what? I texted him like, why do you know this? I just was told 30 seconds ago. And his only response was, I know everything. I knew about this a month ago. I'm like, what? This was known a month ago? And I kind of got a little angry because I'm like, wait a second, I just played playoffs in September in El Paso. That's like $25,000.
Could he use that?
Yeah. So I mean, I love playing in the playoffs in El Paso, but $25,000 is $25,000.
What's that? So what's it like? I mean, you call home, you know, let your parents know, like, how's that go?
So my girlfriend was picking me up at the time, my wife now. And I didn't have any speech planned. I normally can talk all day. I didn't know what to do. She got out of the car. She knows nothing. I just found out. I'm in shock, really. And she comes out of the car to help. She's not really helping me. She just wanted to come around and hug me. So she came around to hug me, and she hugged me because she felt sad for me. And then I was just like, hey, this hug's about to change. I'm going to the big leagues. And she just burst into tears crying. And I had some tears, and I went home and I recorded telling my parents, but my parents, especially my father, who is probably the reason why we're going to be talking a lot of whiskey tonight. He was very shirtless, and my dad is not as attractive without a shirt on as other people. So I was just like, okay, this video is useless. I can't do anything with it. But I told them, they both cried. They were very happy. It was cool because my one start was at Dodger Stadium, and I got to do that. That's actually the coolest thing about my time in the big leagues. I only got one start, but I started first base at Dodger Stadium. The only downside, and I was so excited for this, I wanted Vin Scully to announce my at-bat. Vin Scully had a cold that weekend and wasn't there. Instead, Charlie Steiner called me Cody Decker 3 times.
So you get your debut. You get the wrong name.
And I never got to do it again, but Charlie Steiner called me Cody Decker 3 times.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yeah. Not going to forget that one forever.
No.
Was there a, I thought I saw somewhere, was there a Dexter thrown in there too?
I wouldn't surprise me. I've gotten so many names. It's always been the problem with the first name Cody off, because anytime you're calling a restaurant, the name in the order, Cody, Corey, Cody, Tony, Cody, Toby. Yeah, Toby. That's it. Just write it down. I'll be there in 20 minutes.
Oh my God. That's unreal. I mean, how exciting though, playing at Dodger Stadium. I'm sure you grew up going to games there. I
used to go to at least 3 games a week when they were at home, especially when I was in high school. I was a diehard Dodger fan. I really was. Like, I grew up in the 90s. You know, I'm 34 now. I was Mike Piazza was legendary to me, but believe it or not, I was the biggest Eric Karros fan in the world. I loved Eric Karros. And then a couple years later, when Sean Green joined, because I'm Jewish, you know, we have a Jewish power hitting player in the Los Angeles Dodgers. Obviously, you're my hero.
Sure.
Yeah. And then later I got to play with Sean Green, which was really surreal because 11-year-old me in my head is going crazy. Yeah. And Sean Green's hitting. I'm hitting the first game we played. I'm hitting behind Sean Green, and I'm just sitting next to him. I was never ever like shocked by anybody ever. And I think Sean Green found me a little brazen because I sat next to him in our first game, and we'd known each other at this point for about 2 days. I just sit next to him. He's just pining up his bat. I'm like, oh man, Sean. So you excited? You're hitting 4th today? You're going to rake today. You know why? He's like, why? Because I'm hitting 5th. You're never going to see more fastballs in your life. You're welcome. And I just walked away.
You're welcome, Sean.
What a pompous little prick.
So was that in the World Baseball Classic?
That was the first qualifier that we did in, I think, 2012, I believe.
Well, okay. What was that like? What was it like playing for Team Israel? I mean, that had to be a pretty awesome experience.
Really awesome. Really, really awesome. I grew up Jewish, obviously, but I wouldn't say I was very, very Jewish. If you're from Santa Monica, odds are you're Jewish. So I grew up where it seemed normal to me. It wasn't until I got to professional baseball that it wasn't normal. I'm like, oh, you didn't all grew up like this? Oh, okay. So I'm the weird one. Good to know. It's just, it was amazing. I didn't even know there were enough Jewish ball players in professional baseball to fill a team. And there really were. We had, and we were good too, especially in the actual World Baseball Classic. You had me, Nate Fryman, Ryan Lavarnway, Sam Fold, Josh Zide. These were all guys that played at the highest levels and were really, really successful. I mean, if you take into account not just our big league careers, but our minor league careers, there was in that starting lineup, there was like 900 home runs in that starting lineup. It was a good ball club, really good ball club. And then we kind of took it more along the lines of we were getting a lot of negative press early on. We were called has-beens and wannabes by ESPN and said we were 200-1 favorites. And we were like laughing. We're like, you guys don't know that we're going to beat all of you, right? Like, we're actually good. Like, I'm looking around my line. I'm like, they have no idea what's about to happen. We know.
The roster was loaded.
Loaded. Absolutely loaded. They didn't change their tune until we beat Korea. Once we beat Cuba, they started calling us Team USA B team. And I'm like, you think any of us could sniff the USA team? You kidding me?
You had South Korea, Cuba, Netherlands, and was Chinese.
We beat all of them. And Chinese Taipei, we beat all of them.
That's nuts.
And I mean, I will say there is one thing that never sat well with me. Only one that really about that tournament, because we beat the Netherlands in the first round. In the next round, they beat us, but we lost to Jair Jurgens, and 2 months later got popped for steroids. That never sat well for me because that one loss kept us from going to Dodger Stadium in the final.
God, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, and you had Kapler was there, right? And
he was there the first go around, but he didn't play. He was just a coach. The first coaching staff in 2012 was absurd. Like, player coach was Sean Green. Ausmus was the manager. Kapler was the outfield coach. Our third base coach was Mark Loretta. It was just like the who's who. Huh?
Nate Fish with you guys?
Nate Fish was there. I mean, you got to always have Nate Fish in the mix.
Yeah. Nate was with us for a year. He was a good dude.
Yeah, Nate's a really, really good dude. I like Nate a lot. I actually talked to him on the phone last week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, he's a good dude. I really liked him. He spoke very highly of his experience, both playing with Team Israel in the World Baseball Classic and his time that he spent in Israel. He said it was a blast. It was a once in a lifetime experience that he loved.
He's done some pretty special things over there. Really has. He's helped a lot of young ball players.
No doubt. So tell me how because one thing I did find, which I thought was awesome, was your mensch on the bench. And
it's actually in the other room right now.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is. It's my closet.
My favorite part of it was I saw a press conference and somebody was asking about like the mensch. And you said that's Jerry Weinstein, our manager, and I lost it. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
My whole goal with it. So it happened in the qualifier. It was the night before the game, the first game. We were playing, I think England and United Kingdom. I'm sorry, but it was. I remember we're sitting there, we're like, something's missing. We're not done. We're ready. We're going to win, but we're not ready yet. And my club, he's just staring at me. What are you talking about? He's like, I need you to go somewhere. We're in New York City. I need you to find me a mensch on the bench. He's like, what's that? I Google it for him. Find that. I don't care what it takes. He's like, it's 11 p.m. the night before. Like, where am I going to find it? I'm like, I don't care. That's why you're our clubby. That's why we pay you extra money. And he just kind of laughed. He's like, I'll get it done. I'm like, my man. Next day, it's sitting there in my locker, and he's like, how long did it take you? He's like, surprisingly, not that long. I'm like, oh, good. So we had this regular.
Yeah, we're not talking a little thing.
We're talking the regular mensch on the bench. So we had it be our little Jewish Joe Boo. And so what we would do is make offerings to it. We got it a bunch of stuff, and then we kept it in the dugout. And it kind of took off during the qualifier. And then the mensch on the bench sales went up through the roof because of the qualifier. And then they got a hold of me and said, we want to give you a life-size one. And I said, well, obviously I need that. And they sent me a box, and I mean a shipping crate box filled with more mensch on the bench swag than I'll ever know what to do with. And in there was a gigantic life-size mensch on the bench. So I'm like, oh, God, I cannot wait for the WBC. This is going to be so much fun. But I never wanted to acknowledge it
Mhm.
I always wanted to make people force me to talk about it. I always wanted to be there. I was like my weird Andy Kaufman thing. I'm like, I want it to be here, and I know it's there, and you know it's there, but I'm not going to
We're
acknowledge
not
it.
talking
It's
about it.
just, yeah, it's don't worry about it. What are you talking about? So anytime I'd say something, he was like, "What's that? What's what?"
What are you talking about?
He's like, "That. Oh, him? Oh, he's like our deity. I mean, he's our
Wow.
friend. He's our mentor."
I would suggest to anybody that has not seen the videos to go onto Antihero Baseball on YouTube and take a look at some of these, because the Brad Osmus video, when I text you, I was literally like dying laughing at that thing, because everything about it was hilarious. I showed my wife, like she was cracking up. But the introduction between Brad and the mensch on the bench was phenomenal.
Yeah, I was in Vegas for the Mets, and I was injured, so I had nothing to do. I'm like, all right, why don't I just make some films with the mensch on the bench and Brad? Let's dust off Brad for a couple of days and do some more stuff with Brad. And it all culminated. I was hoping it would get popular. It didn't at all, but it all culminated with the dumbest idea I ever had, which was just remaking the A-Team credits, but with me, the mensch on the bench, and Brad Osmus as all the characters from the A-Team. And so I just reshot the opening credits about me being a washed up ball player in Vegas. But if you need anybody, perhaps you can hire the 4A-Team. And had shirts made, everything. Felt so good about it. So all the 4A guys on the team, I gave them 4A-Team shirts.
Awesome.
So I felt pretty good about that. And then I remember the next spring training I was with the Diamondbacks. I walked around with the 4A-Team shirt, and a couple of guys were like, "You got to be kidding me!" I'm like, "What? You're not part of the team. You're not cool enough."
I
Sorry, Archie Bradley Jr. You got way too much showtime to wear this shirt.
Yeah, you're not in. Sorry, dude.
You're not part of this cool club.
I have to imagine though that like a dude such as yourself, who is experienced and successful, like, there's like, you had a lot of success. I mean, you had a really, long minor league career. You put up numbers every year. You were, I mean, constantly like performing. And then so to be that guy with experience, with success, and then to go and like be the guy that's going to keep the clubhouse loose and like be the approachable guy that people can talk to. I mean, I have to imagine that everybody needs somebody like that.
Mhm.
But I don't know that that's necessarily like a quality that most guys who have been successful are going to be able to do, in terms of playing both roles.
I think it took me more time than it should have, to be honest with you. I think any player that, especially when I was with the Padre organization, I mean, I was always big on keeping the clubhouse loose and having as much fun as possible. But I don't think mentally I was there to be anybody's mentor or be the leader that I really think I needed to be until the next year. It wasn't until 2016 that I really kind of. So after I got to the big leagues, I became a free agent. I signed with the Royals. I was the last guy cut. I was kind of told I made. All right, I wasn't kind of told. I was told I made the team, and then they changed their mind later in the day. Not my favorite day, but it was fine because I loved the Royals. They were a great organization, really nice people. And then I went to AAA for them, and it turns out I don't have a spot. So they kind of acknowledged, hey, listen, we messed up. We're going to try and trade you. They sent me to the Rockies. I was there for 14 days, and they released me after Daniel Descalso got healthy.
Mhm.
So I'm like, it's going to be fine. I'll sign somewhere right away. And unfortunately, I didn't, because it was May 2nd. No one's signing people on May 2nd. No one's releasing people on May 2nd. So it caught me really off guard. So I ended up signing on like June 15th with the Red Sox. Had to go back to AA. And I was just like, I haven't been in AA in 6 years. Like, my God, this is quite the fall from grace.
Mhm.
I went, and my goal was just to, like, I wanted the team was the worst team in baseball at the time, but they had major prospects. The team had 23 wins on June 21st. And I was just like, good Lord. And they had Andrew Benintendi on the team. They had studs on the team. I didn't understand why they were so bad. And I got there, and the clubhouse was everyone was just miserable. So I made it my goal to, all right, let's make this place fun. And all of a sudden, guys are having fun. And all of a sudden, we're winning. And we're actually winning quite a bit. We almost got back to 500. This was a team that was like 20-60 when I showed up. And ended up being a fun year. The only problem with me personally is how much I was struggling with my mental health. I had such anxiety playing baseball. And I'd never experienced that before. I was walking to the plate, my hands would shake. I was terrified of getting released again, because I'm like, if I get released again, it's over. I'm never going to play again. it was something I was terrified of, and I played scared. Now I put up some decent numbers, but I knew I failed. I knew I played terrible. Ended up hitting 19 home runs on the season, but I hit like 238. It was I had 300 at bats, so there were some salvageable things, but I K'd a lot, and I just wasn't right. But luckily, I was really happy because at the end of the season, one of my teammates, who was Mauricio Dubon, actually said the most touching thing to me, and it meant the world to me, and it changed my perspective from that point on. He hugged me after the season. I was internalizing his just how upset I was, but I wasn't showing it to anybody. But he came up to me and he hugged me. And he's like, "I learned more from you than anybody else. Thank you for this year." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, I needed that. Oh my God, I so needed that." And it changed. That one sentence changed my perspective from that point on. I made sure the next year when I signed with the Mets, I had fun, and I wanted to keep the clubhouse fun. When I signed with the Diamondbacks, we're gonna have fun, guys. No matter what, we're gonna have fun. And I would never be presumptuous enough to get him like, "Hey, come on, I'm going to take you under my wing," because who the hell am I? But some guys kind of let me do it, and then it kind of became standard that that's what I'm going to do. And my final year signing back with the Diamondbacks, they even told me, "We need you to be our Crash Davis. We need you to mentor our young guys." And I'm like, you know what? I've already been doing it, and will I have a chance to get to the big leagues? They kind of said, probably not. And he's like, at the middle of the year, if we're not playing well and we had the choice to call you up and you're playing great, or a 22-year-old prospect, we're calling up the 22-year-old prospect. And I said, thank you. I appreciate the honesty. Let's get it done. I can't make it in the big leagues from my couch, so let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that's undervalued, and guys, I think they don't really recognize the value that has for, I mean, like you said, it's being told something like that. I mean, that's something that's significant. Like, that's a big deal for somebody to say that you've left an impact on them, or that you've been able to help them out, maybe help them through something that they were going through that you really didn't even realize they were going through. And they learn from you through your struggles, through your, like you said, your anxiety of being released.
Yeah, it meant the world to me. It was just, it was said to me in the right moment, at the right time, in my right state of mind. And I felt relieved. I'm like, oh my God, maybe I wasn't successful in the way I thought I needed to be, but I was wrong. I was successful. I was successful in something I didn't even realize I was being successful in. And that changed my perspective for the last 3.5 years of my career.
That's awesome. So okay. So now, kind of off of that, your last at bat.
Oh man!
Which, again, now I'm gonna say it because two things. One, I went to college in Reno, and I only hit not even 30 homers in my 4 years in college. And then when I'd go back and coach there in Reno and see little guys hit homers, I realized that I really wasn't any good at baseball. Because that ball just flies there, and I don't even think at the time I realized how much it flew. But your last at bat in Reno, last at bat of your professional career. So I remember you said you punched 3 times, tied the game with a base hit, and then 9th inning walk off.
I told the Diamondbacks. So here's what happened. I was on the Phantom, and the year before was my first time ever on the Phantom, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm the Phantom guy now. Like, that's where I'm at. No, but it was really funny because in 2018. So to just give you the full scope of this, in 2018, I signed with the Diamondbacks. They tell me that I need to be in Jackson, Tennessee, which was not words I wanted to hear out loud, but I'm like, you know what? That's fine. I'll just go to Jackson. I don't care. And I went there for one day, which they told me I'd be there for a week. I didn't believe them because would you? And so I just said, all right, let's go to Jackson. And I was there for a day. And I then flew to Reno the next day. And I remember my first game I homered. The second game I homered twice and 2 doubles. And I was just like, all right, it's good to be back in the PCL again. Because the PCL is my home. At this point, I spent 8 years in the PCL. And I remember significantly my April was huge. My first April there, I was just killing it. I was leading the Pac-12, not the Pac-12, sorry. I was leading the PCL in home runs, RBIs, and I was hitting 340. Feeling pretty good. I get a text from the assistant GM who I was good friends with, and he's like, hey, you're in the mix of getting called up. 2 days later, I wake up to a phone call, but I didn't recognize the number, so I just went back to bed. And I get a text from the phone number. It's Mike Bell. Call me back. Mike Bell, at the time, head of player development. Awesome guy. Mike Bell. What a guy. And so I call him back, excited. I'm like, let's go. We're finally getting back. And he just calls me. He's like, "Hey, Cody, I just wanted to let you know we're calling up Christopher Negron." And I said, "Great. I love Christopher Negron. Weird that you're telling me this." And he's just like, "So I'm waiting for him, and you're going with him." So I'm like, and he's like, "So we need a shortstop at AAA." Oh no. Oh no, this is going the complete wrong direction. He's like, "So we need your spot." I'm like, "No, what?" He's like, "So we can send you back to Jackson if you want to get your bats." I'm like, "No, I'm good. I'm good. What injury do I have?" I believe it's a high ankle sprain. Like, all right, I got a high ankle sprain. Is what it is. So the next year I was on the Phantom, and I worked. I things were kind of happening, and radio.com wanted me to retire, and the Diamondbacks were amazing about it. They flew me to Boston mid-season. There was a day game. I just called the team. I said, "Hey, I know this is off kilter, but I am on the Phantom, so
keep that in mind.
Is it gonna matter?" And they said, "Listen, go ahead and do it. Just don't publicize it. And yes, go fly to go do this thing." But I did tell them it was going to be for the off season, not for I might be retiring in a month. I did it. Things went great. I did a tester show. It was great. And then I came back, and it turned out the day I left, there was a rain out anyway. So I honestly missed nothing. So flash forward a couple of weeks, we have a deal in place, and I'm sitting here, oh my God, it's really happening. I'm going to retire. And then I also had this offer in El Paso, Texas, to be the executive director of a baseball and softball nonprofit. And I fell in love with this city when I played here. They embraced me. And, like I said earlier about AAA doesn't lend itself to a happy experience all the time. There was not a moment here that I didn't love playing baseball, because these fans here they treat the Chihuahuas like they are the New York Yankees. Nothing is more important than the El Paso Chihuahuas, and it is awesome. And I have never played in professional baseball in a city like that. And it really always rejuvenated me every day I went to the field. So I took on this job and the radio job at the same time, because I can do them both. And I called the Diamondbacks, told them I'm going to hang them up. One of my friends who was in the front office tried to talk me out of it. I don't know why. I finally just said, "Are you planning on calling me up in September?" He's like, "Well," I'm like, "That's a no. Like, it's a yes or no question. Are you calling me up in September?" He's like, "Probably not." Then come on, what are we doing? 32, I haven't been to the big leagues in a while. It's just not going to happen. And I've been on the Phantom. And he's like, "Well, we're about to take you off the Phantom. Would you like to come off Phantom?" "Yeah, I'll come off the Phantom." And I remember my first game back, which was this game, my final game. I told my teammates, we had a meeting the day before the game. I got to tell them all. They were super supportive. We all hugged. And the next day, I remember I got to the field and said, "Do you want to play tonight?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And then I remember my first 3 at-bats. I K'd all 3 at-bats. I hadn't had an at-bat in a month. And I've been like, "Oh, God, thank God I'm done with this. This is not fun." And then I remember I came up in the 8th inning with bases loaded, 2 outs, and I had an 0-2 count. And I'm like, I am not striking out. I don't care what kind of swing I have to put on this ball. This guy ain't K'ing me. It ain't happening. I know my timing's all over the place. Hadn't seen anything. I'm getting my foot down early. I'm getting something. Hung me a curveball, got out of my front foot, slapped it to left, tied the game up. We take the lead. And I'm kind of content with myself going, my final at bat was a game tying, bases loaded, 2 out, RBI single in the 7th inning.
Good.
That's a good way to go out. And I'm playing left field, and I'm always the first to tell you, I'm not the prettiest left fielder. I'm not the best outfielder in the world. I make every play. I just make them look like shit. Like I could really take 30 steps to a ball that is 10 feet away from where I started. Better than anybody. And they're short steps. I remember I played for John Gibbons when in San Antonio in AA in 2011. He said, well, if you can understand what John Gibbons says, if you ever met John Gibbons, he's not exactly the most easy to understand. But he used to always say, "Oh, damn it, Decker, out there, it looks like Fred Flintstone driving a car out there and catches the ball, Decker. It's terrible. Look, you look awful. Look awful." I'm like, did I catch the ball, Gibby?" He's like,
"No."
"Yeah, you did that. All right, I'll go away." But so I come up and I go to the outfield in the 9th inning. We got a 1-run lead. Jimmy Sherfy's on the mound. Jimmy Sherfy is as sure-handed of a AAA closer as there is. He's got a decent amount of big league time. And Sherfy gives up a run, and then he gives up 2. And I'm like, and I was just pissed off. I'm in left field. I'm so angry. I do not want to lose this game. But it's not, and I don't know why. It must have been because in the back of my head I knew it was the end, my last game. But I didn't think it. It never crossed my mind. At that point, all I saw was red. I'm like, no, I'm not losing this game. We're not losing this game. And then I looked at the lineup card. I'm like, I'm hitting 3rd next inning. whatever. Someone will get on. I'll just hit a walk-off. And I actually said that out loud, which is the weirdest thing because I would never say that. And I came in the dugout, and at no point did it cross my mind that this is my last at bat. Their closer was on the mound. Guy throws hard. 97 to 99. I'm like, he's going to throw you a fastball. Get on time. If he throws me 3 bastard sliders, he deserved to get me. I don't care. I'm going to swing through every one of these pitches like it's a fastball, and that is it. He throws hard. Let's go. First pitch, fastball. Fouled it back. And I stepped out of the box and screamed at myself. We had a runner on first base, by the way. And I'm just like, get on time to the fastball, you stupid son of a bitch. I come back in. I know the catcher just heard me. Probably not going to see a fastball, but I don't care. I'm getting ready for the fastball. I'm overcommitted. Fastball. I absolutely hammered this ball. Just right on time, smoked at the left center field on a line. And my first thought was, and it's still, at this moment, it has not crossed my mind that this is my final at bat. I hit it, and my first thought was, let's pimp this. It's a walk-off. And here's the thing. I don't pimp home runs, and it's not because I'm against pimping home runs. I think pimping home runs is the best thing in the world. I think everyone should do it. I think people should pimp singles. I, however, am Jewish, and I have no swag whatsoever. Just zero swag. So, and also being Jewish, there is that, you know how they talk about the devil angel thing on your shoulders? Jewish people don't have that. We just have our whole ancestry on our shoulders yelling at us for the decisions we're making. And it's just, my first thought was, I'm going to pimp this. And like my great uncles on my shoulders, like, what if it's off the wall? What a big shot. Didn't get a double. So I'm like, all right, I got to go on second. Ball was 130 feet over the wall, and I'm sprinting like it was a single up the middle. God, I'm the worst. But this ball goes over the left field wall, and I don't slow down. I keep the same speed rounding the bases. And I never did that, but I'm just so amped up because all I want to do is get the home plate to my teammates who are going crazy. And I remember I got there and I hugged the first guy. Then it turned into me hugging another guy. And then it turned into, I'm having really long hugs. And the place was packed, and they're giving me a standing ovation, and they don't even know what they're giving me a standing ovation for. And the hugs were really like emotional. So much so that one of the players in the other team said, well, that's a bit much. And then one of my players like said, hey, that he's retiring tonight. And the guy's like, oh, well, get back out there and hug more. But I remember I got in the dugout after all the hugs, and the crowd is still going crazy. And it still hasn't really hit me that I'm done. I take off my elbow guard, put in my helmet and my batting gloves in my helmet, and I put my helmet on my helmet rack. And right when I put the helmet in the helmet rack, that's when I paused. And I just went, holy shit. This is the last time I've ever putting my helmet in this helmet rack. I've done this 3,000 times, and I'm never going to do this again. Wow. And I looked to my right, and it was Johnny Gums. He was our outfield coordinator who was there that day. And I think Johnny liked me enough. I don't know if he loved me. I think that I've been called a poor man's Johnny Gums and a poor man's Kevin Millar so many times that I think they've heard it enough that they just decided, you know what, we don't like him.
Not a fan.
Yeah. But me and Johnny got along great every time. And I love Johnny Gums. I just love the guy. And I remember I looked to my right, and Johnny was standing there just staring at me, almost weirdly, but he's staring at me. And I just go, Johnny, I'm retiring tonight. And he's like, I know. This is awesome. And he just grabbed the bat out of my hand and he ran away. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I lost that bat. And then I start to go into the clubhouse, and the guys grabbed me and literally picked me up and threw me on the field to get a standing ovation from the crowd. And my whole team was in the dugout giving me. I didn't realize the whole team accumulated in there from the bullpen in right field, and they all gave me a standing ovation. And I immediately started to tear up. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? I remember I got in the dugout, and one of my teammates bought me a 1-gallon, because I'm also a big fan of tequila as well. He bought me a 1-gallon Don Julio Añejo bottle of tequila. It was this big, just huge. And he's like, well, you're going to be good on tequila for the next year, buddy. He's like, thank you for everything you've done in your career. I'm like, thanks so much. Well, that night after the game, they got me a cake that said, happy retirement, Decker. They didn't expect, obviously, to hit a walk-up home run, but right away, that player went to my locker, grabbed the gallon, and just said, It ain't lasting a year. It ain't lasting tonight. Throws it on the thing. Everyone took shots, and they all gave me speeches. Like, I mean, and the one that really hit me the hardest was Travis Snyder, who was my teammate. Now, I played with Travis in the Mets organization, Diamondbacks organization, and the Royals organization. He's one of my favorite teammates of all time. And Travis said something that I just immediately kind of couldn't hold it together. Again, I could talk all day, and they just said, asked me to give a speech. I just said, "You're the best group of players I've ever spent the field with. I need to stop talking and drink this tequila before I cry, and I don't want that to be your last memory of me." And so we just all did the shot, and we went to a restaurant that night, and we stayed out till 3, and it was just a lot of hugging and a lot of friends. It was special. It was the most special evening of my life. I'll never forget it. It'll never be topped. I mean,
it's incredible.
It's great.
Like, everybody, I think, would dream of ending their career with a walk-off home run, you know. And then not only that, but now you're hearing from your teammates about the impact you've left on them, and those guys, like, you had an impact on their career, on their life. Like, that's huge. Like, that's such a big deal. In addition to the fact that you just hit a walk-off, and like, that's it. And like,
it was something.
It's incredible.
It was a really, really nice moment. I'll never, every one of those guys, I'll never forget how they made me feel that night. They made me feel like you spend enough time being told you're Crash Davis. I mean, does anyone remember the ending of Bull Durham? It's not an uplifting ending. No. It's about as sad as it gets. Yeah. And he finished his career with a home run.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was bittersweet, but it was far less bitter than sweet. Yeah. It was special. It really was.
Now, when you announced your retirement, you were in El Paso, right? Mm-hmm. So was that because of was that more because of was that just the timing, or was that because, you wanted to announce it in El Paso?
I wanted to announce it in El Paso. Yeah. I was coming in there, and I still have a wonderful relationship with the El Paso Chihuahuas. They decided to put together a press conference for me. I was going to announce what I was going to be doing in El Paso, and my whole goal is to change how baseball has developed in El Paso. El Paso has been very much stuck in the dark ages when it comes to baseball development and training. Yeah, I mean, a lot of skinny kids, like no one's seen a weight room before. And so I brought along with me Joe Beimel and Brent Dean from Beimel Elite Athletics, and some of my best friends. They wanted to come and join me in this adventure over here. And so they expanded over here at our facility, and they're helping training our college prep academy and helping training their own players. And it's just the amount of success. I've never realized how much I was going to enjoy the success that a 16-year-old kid is experiencing. Mm-hmm. I never realized how much that was going to mean to me. We have a kid who is a senior who never pitched harder than 63 miles per hour. And he's now throwing 80. In just 7 months of training, reworking his mechanics, building his scaps, fixing all his physical deficiencies, and the excitement that I saw on his face when he threw 80 miles per hour made me feel like I just accomplished the greatest thing of my life. Mm-hmm. I couldn't, and just might be able to play after 18 now. That is awesome. And I always tell kids, if you play after the age of 18, that is an accomplishment. You have no idea what an accomplishment that is. No. So it doesn't matter where it is, junior college, NAIA, I don't care. A summer ball team. If you're playing after 18, you can play.
I think it's awesome. When I coached at the University of New Mexico, and one of our coaches that was there used to be the head coach at El Paso Community College. And he always said that there was talent there. He's like, it's kind of the same thing. They're either underdeveloped, or there's just not the resources there. So mm-hmm. I think when you decide that you're going to be there and you bring other guys and you're implementing technology and you have a nice facility, obviously that's a place where kids can go to improve. And then, like you said, when you have coaches that care, that like want to see guys get better, that it's important to see them get better. Like, there is nothing better than that. Like, there's nothing better than seeing your guys that you've worked with improve, and just the pure joy that they get out of improving and knowing they've put in the work to get that improvement. It really is incredible. And also
I also have the opportunity to work with them and letting them know, listen, I was a kid that was really sought after in high school. I led the state of California in home runs twice when I was in high school, but I didn't sign to UCLA until I had 2 weeks left of my senior year. But it wasn't because they didn't want me. I was just between 5 schools. I didn't know where I was going to go. Was I going to do USC, LMU, ASU, U of A? I was literally between these all the way through. And I decided to go to UCLA because I knew it would hurt USC the most. That's honestly why I did it. I did it for vindictive reasons. But it worked out great because I always crushed USC, and my vindictiveness was just spot on. But I want them to know that even in pro ball, and pro ball is amazing, but it can be ugly. It can be very ugly. College is the same thing, and I would actually go as far to say that college can be uglier, especially the recruiting world of college. You're going to be promised everything under the sun. None of it's real. It's all lies. And it's not because they're trying to lie to you. They believe it when they say it. But when they leave you, they're going to say the same thing to another kid. And there might be a chance that both you kids are both there, and neither of you are getting the job you were promised, at least not for the first 2 years. And so it's very easy for kids to be discouraged when they go to college because they've never experienced this. I was the star at high school. Yeah, so were the other 40 kids on your team. Now you got to grind it all out again and prove it all over again. And it's going to take you a couple of years. And it could be ugly and it's daunting. I want them prepared for it. And I think what's most important is not to crush their dreams, but to make sure they're aware of the pitfalls that are ahead of them. So they don't make the mistakes that I made. So they don't have the assumptions going to college that I had foolishly as a 18-year-old kid. Oh, I'm going to start my freshman year and lead the pack in homers. And no, you're not. What are you talking about?
Well, Spencer Torkelson, that guy's a monster.
Well, yeah, he did it, but I mean, you can count on one hand those guys that do it. You know, of my recruiting class, my freshman year, only 2 guys really started all the time. Yeah. One was our catcher, the other was Brandon Crawford, and I never heard of him. But he seems to be doing okay now. Still. Yeah, he's doing all right.
So you're done playing, like, you're going to start working with kids in the El Paso area. You got a facility going up, and then now you've got your radio show, right?
Well, not at the moment. At the moment, my contract just ended a week ago. So keep your eyes peeled, though. I'll let everybody know where's next. But it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be fun.
I'm excited.
It's gonna be an interesting month. Hopefully, who knows? Everything might backfire, and I might be doing absolutely nothing in a month. It could happen. It's a crazy world we're in right now.
Have you or would you coach, like, at a professional level or college baseball?
Would love to. Would absolutely love to. I've turned down some pretty cool jobs. And it wasn't because the jobs weren't great. I have been offered a AA manager job twice. I've been offered a rookie level several times. I've been offered a high A job. My reasoning for not wanting to do it was always, listen, I just grinded it out for 11 years, mostly in the minors. I'm just not into the idea of starting my minor league career all over again. My dream job ever since I was a little kid was to be a big league manager. But now, based on how big league managers are hired, what's the route now? I can't tell it. There's more managers being hired now that have zero experience than have 20 years of experience. So it's a really weird time for baseball. It seems like as long as you can work PowerPoint, you could manage a baseball team at this point. And guess what? I learned PowerPoint when I was 8.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird time. It's a weird path. I don't know that there's right or wrong. I don't know that people are necessarily rewarded for the work they've done, their body of work. It may just be if they're able to show the aptitude and the current trends, and because of that, they're rewarded. And right, wrong, otherwise, I mean, that's just where we're at. So,
and it's funny because you mentioned current trends. If you're on Twitter and you're a baseball guy, you know that you're in the midst of a civil war when it comes to baseball knowledge and data. And it's sad because I like a lot of people on both sides of this argument. There's a lot of people on one particular side that I don't like, but I can't stress this enough. Numbers are not your enemy. They just are not. They're so applicable. They're very important. But I do hate the phrase data driven. That's my least favorite phrase in baseball, because I think if anybody's that's data driven as baseball is horrifically misguided. I think everyone should be data informed. I think every single person should know every ounce of data that's available to them and make an informed decision based on what your eyes are telling you. Because the data does not include human elements. You know your players better. You know your players. Your players know your players. Now take those numbers and apply them.
Yeah, totally agree. I try to stay as like Switzerland as possible on that because there's, we use numbers. Everybody uses numbers, and numbers have been used forever. And like all of a sudden, it's gotten to this just extreme for. And I don't know that it's necessarily as bad in the organizations that social media makes it out to be. I think when people talk like launch angle on social media, like I've never actually heard that term used in one of our cages.
No.
Don't say that.
It's because, launch angle is my favorite thing to talk about because of this weird argument. Because I think Fred McGriff was on MLB Network the other day, and he actually did a great thing. And where he's like, I just want to remind you all, launch angle doesn't happen until after contact. It's not a swing. It's a result. Yes, it's a result. It's not a swing. A hitter can manipulate a launch angle, but not that much. I mean, you really can't. I mean, it's just a matter of depth of how deep you hit the baseball.
Well, then when people start talking about teaching a swing for a specific launch angle, it's like, dude, you don't even know where the pitch is going to be.
Like, okay, is he throwing a fastball down the middle every single time? I got to tell you, I'd love to play this game.
For sure. If a dude's going to like a 12-6 breaking ball over the plate that's at the bottom of the knees, your swing is going to be different than the 98 with run at the top of this.
Every single, and it's funny. I give this example all the time when I'm working with hitters, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite example. And I know, and I also know this. This drives me nuts because I've become the guy that I always made fun of. I always made fun of him. Like Sean Barry, it was an old hitting coach of mine. Sean Barry was our hitting coordinator, and I love Sean Barry. He's such a great guy, and he's a good coach too. But Sean Barry always turned his hitting lessons into when I was playing in Houston. It always ended that way. It always. When I was in Houston, I was part of the original Killer Bees. I'm like, no, you were not. Your last name started with a B. You were on the team. Stop it. No one said Biggio Bagwell Barry. Not a person in Earth said that.
Not a thing.
But I love the guy so much. But Barry, he always used to do that, and now I'm that guy. Because that's what you need to do. You need to give personal examples to explain your points sometimes.
Yeah.
So it helps. So I always give an example of my guys. The worst swing I've ever taken in my career, probably the very worst swing, was also the best swing I have ever taken in my career. I had a bat that sticks with me that I think about all the time in 2013, where I was playing in Tucson in front of 400 people because no one came to Keno Stadium. And I'll never forget it. This pitcher who has just had my number, carved me the first at bat with heat, didn't even need his off-speed pitches. I just, for whatever reason that day, I was just in between pitches. And so first pitch, swung mile late. Second pitch, fastball, mile late. But I guess what he saw was that I fouled it directly back. So in his eyes, he thought I foul tipped it. My bat was barely past my shoulder, and I think it hit my barrel, grazed it as I swung that late. Like I was a mile late. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, listen, I've seen nothing but fastballs today. I'm not on time. He's throwing me a fastball. Let's get on time to this damn fastball. I was on time. Problem was, he threw me the filthiest changeup I had ever seen in my life. Right on right, centered under the glove, just a little on the outside half. And I don't know why. It must be because I had my foot down early and I was just seeing it okay because I was so early that all of a sudden I get on my front side and just start to drift, which I never would do. My back foot comes off the ground and kicks back, and I just flick the ball like this. And I do not even, my barrel doesn't get past this. It doesn't get past maybe 1 foot past the plate of my contact point. And I barreled it, smoked it, and it was 107 off the bat, line drive, one hop the right center wall. And my bat at my end of my swing was just right in front of me. And I'm running down the line, and it's like my arm locked up, and I couldn't let go of the bat or my arm. And I was just running down the line like this with my arm fully extended, laughing hysterically, going, oh my God, what did I just do? I ended up having a stand-up triple, and I was just like, that's the worst and best thing I've ever done in my career.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you can't hit, like if you need your A swing to always hit, I feel like you're going to have some difficulties.
It's going to be a tough career, man.
Yeah. That is tough. Well, we got to get to some some whiskey.
We really do. We
I need to
really,
switch
really
it.
do.
I finished up my Whistle Pig. I didn't want to be rude and pour my Whistle Pig when I was.
I finished up my Napogue Castle. Of course, we already talked a little bit about my small batch Four Roses. You know how much I love that. But you know what? I think we should bust out the special guy.
Yeah, I would really like that because I want to hear a little bit about. And so talk a little bit about what you've got, what your special one is.
All right, this one is very special. This is called Abasolo. So hopefully you can see it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Abasolo is one of the few Mexican whiskeys. Now, I didn't know about its existence until a week ago. So the only Mexican whiskey I've ever known about is a company called Sierra Norte. Sierra Norte is a mezcal distillery in Oaxaca that I guess the head distiller, how the story was told to me, was the head tequila distiller just got tired of making mezcal. Didn't want to make mezcal anymore. He wanted to make whiskey. So he didn't change any of the equipment, none of the pipes, none of the barrels, kept all the same mezcal, everything. Except now he's just going to make whiskey with their cornfields. So they have a yellow bottle, a white bottle, all of the color corn, red corn, black corn, really smoky, by the way. But the yellow corn is like the most unique whiskey I've ever drinking. It's almost has like a floral pattern to it. It's like you're drinking roses. Now, if you drink the black bottle, the black corn bottle, you are drinking a forest fire. It's really good. Yeah. But you better be ready for some pepper because you are biting into one gigantic piece of black pepper. This, however, I went to a restaurant and I was just talking. I was eating dinner at this local restaurant in El Paso. It was completely empty. That's why I like going there. Mm-hmm. And we were just kind of talking about whiskey. I wasn't having a drink. I was just waiting for my food to go. And he's a whiskey expert, and I always like to fancy myself a fairly decent, wouldn't say expert, but a decent connoisseur that really loves his whiskey. And we started talking about a Mexican whiskey. He's like, oh my goodness. Let me tell you, 1 second. He goes in the back and comes out literally with a cup, but not like a glass cup, more like a container for a to-go soup. And it just said on the cover, Abasolo whiskey, Mexican. And he hadn't gotten the bottle yet. He's like, I want you to taste this. So he poured me one, and I took a sip, and I just lost my mind. I'm like, that is not whiskey. That is melted butterscotch. That's candy. I've never tasted a whiskey like this in my life.
What kind of proof?
It was delicious. This is, well, let's take a look. Copper pot distilled, ancestral corn whiskey. Let's see, El Whiskey de Mexico, 100% ancestral corn. It is 43% alcohol, 86 proof. So I have always been a big fan. I don't have any Glencairn glasses here, sadly, so I'm going with one large sphere.
There's one on the way, or two on the way to you.
Oh, thank you. I have some in LA. That's for sure at my whiskey bar. But here it is. I'm going to take a sip. Allow me to give you my review, and let's see if it still tastes like butterscotch.
Yeah, I want you to enjoy this.
That is pure butterscotch. My goodness, that's good.
I gotta find it.
You gotta get your hands on this because if for no other reason that it is, I've never tasted a whiskey like this.
That's nuts. And I need to see. I've always I always go the bourbon. I always go the Irish whiskey. I haven't done the Canadian. I've got one of the Caribou Crossing, which is fine.
Could I make a Canadian suggestion for you?
Please do.
You said you've gotten into rye lately?
Yes.
So if I had to put a list of my favorite whiskeys, number one is Napogue Castle. No, mm-hmm. I don't care which one. The 12 would be number one.
Yeah.
Number two, probably Nika coffee grain.
Yeah. Okay.
I just love that. It's delicious. And number three is probably a bottle of Pendleton 1910. Okay. It is also the biggest bargain in all of whiskey. Really? Because that bottle is $30 and it should be $70. It is so good. It's like you're drinking a chocolate milkshake a little bit. It's like a dessert whiskey. And I remember this very wholeheartedly. My wife and I, we always throw a Christmas Eve party. We throw a Christmas Eve onesie party. So 2 years ago, coming over to our house, we had a couple of ball players coming over because, of course, all my friends are ball players. So I'm going to name drop. Why not? So I had Lucas Giolito and Max Fried over, who I've known since they were little kids. I used to give Lucas hitting lessons. And Lucas sits down with my buddy who's bartending that night for us at our thing. And he's a whiskey expert. And he just goes, Lucas, what do you have? He's like, I like whiskey. And he just goes, sit down. Goes, and the thing pulls out this 19. He's like, what's this? He's like, you're going to drink this. You will never drink anything again. Drinks it, hands it to him. The look on Lucas's face, he ran outside to tell me, he's like, why have you not told me of this nectar of the gods? I'm like, I'm sorry, I should have told you sooner. He's like, oh my God. 2 days later, I get a call. I bought 4 bottles.
Really?
I'm like, good.
That's
good.
Like, that $30 price point is like the kind of the sweet spot, because they can go one way or the other. Like, a buddy of mine asked me to review Basil Hayden's, and I did.
Love it. Good stuff.
It's fine for $30, but then
Yes.
the next day I see it at the store for $50. I'm out. Like, no chance.
0% chance I would spend that money. I'd rather, honestly, if I had the choice between, and this is crazy. Remember we talked about Jack Daniels earlier? If I had the choice between buying a $30 Basil Hayden or a $19 just simple Jack Daniels Old Number 7, I'm going with the Jack Daniels every single time.
I'm going Old Forester 100 for $18.
Every time.
There's no doubt about it. And I think that's where people that are trying to get into bourbons and whiskeys, that's where they confuse it. Like, the price isn't necessarily an indicator of the quality. It's more the rarity of it. And so when you get that $30 price point, like, you can go either way. There's so many good bottles under $30.
Oh yes.
Like the Russell's Reserve 10-year. That's my
Good
go-to
stuff.
every day. Like, I love that bottle. So $30. So was it Pendleton 1910? Like, that's
Pendleton 1910, I believe. Now, don't quote me on this one, but I believe it's one of their higher end bottles. But regular Pendleton's delicious. And by the way, that 1910 is a rye, and it's a good one.
So I got to try the Mexican one, because I've not had, like, I've got Hibiki, I've got the Caribou Crossing. I haven't jumped into like other whiskeys outside of bourbon, Irish whiskey, and I haven't gotten into Scotch either, because I just got that Ardbeg Wee Beastie, 5-year-old Scotch, and it tastes like you're licking a campfire, or like a bonfire pit.
They can do that.
It's not that bad, but when you know it's coming, you're like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah, you just got to prepare yourself. Don't be, if you're going to say, hey, taste this, and it's Ardbeg, you better just let me know it's Ardbeg, because I will immediately cough and spit it out, and I don't want to spit it out.
No.
You got to prepare me. That's all I'm asking.
But a little heads up would be nice, because so I'm a big Teeling fan. Randomly, like on Facebook, they were there was like a Teeling tasting, so I invited myself. I thought that was the natural thing to do. And so
is that not an appropriate thing to do? That's what
I don't know, but I'm there. So I do this like Teeling thing, and so I met a guy on there who's like a brand ambassador and just a phenomenal human. Like, this guy is the best. And he sent me some bottles that he's found. So I've got one coming to me. It's called the Black Pits, and it's named after the area behind the distillery in Dublin. So the last 2 years we went to Ireland, not 2020, didn't go so well. We went in 19 and 18, went to Dublin, worked with Ireland's national team, had an absolute blast, did the distillery tours. Badass, right?
Wait, time out. Did you just sneakily tell me how I'm going to Ireland to get free stuff?
Yes.
I have to just go and teach a national team for a day or two?
Yep. You got it.
I'm in. Give me the number. I will do this. I'll stay for a week and coach anyone you want, as long as I get to tourist places.
So we go. So Frank, this dude from Teeling, is like the best guy. So he sends me a little box with their Trinity. It's their small batch, single malt, single grain, and then the Black Pits. And he said, this is like something you've never tasted before, and you smell it, and it smells like a barbecue. Like, it's a straight barbecue. And then you take a sip, and there's no smoke to this sip. Like, it's the weirdest thing in the world. And the aftertaste, you get a little bit more smoke. It's like, okay, this is the most interesting bottle of whiskey I've ever tried in my life. So, like, it was so awesome. But like you said, that Ardbeg and some of those Islay scotches, like, man, I don't know. They just get a little, Isla, they get a little.
They're strong.
Yeah.
Very peaty, very smoky. I do like a peaty whiskey or a peaty scotch on occasion. I do have a few of them, but I try not to dive into. I always end up with my same couple of bottles.
Yeah.
I love the collection, but I always end up drinking normally like the same 5 bottles.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I find myself doing that where I go buy a bottle because I hear it's good and then I try it. Like I've got kind of a price point where if I've not tried it, I'm not buying it because like I've had other bottles where I've spent more money than I really wanted to. And then you try it and you're like, oh, this is super underwhelming. Like I'm not.
Do you have anything that's a regret? Do you have any bottle that you were just so excited for that you ended up being like, oh, what a waste?
This is a weird one, but, and it is a waste because of what it took. So I had the Old Forester 1920. And a lot of people love it, and it's super highly talked about. Everybody likes it, and I get it. The problem was, like, when you smell it, it's really sweet. It's really like fruity. It's got a really nice nose, and then you take a sip, and it's 115 proof. And until you get like a little bit of air in there, it honestly tasted like a chewed up Band-Aid. It was gross. I honestly hated it. I wanted to dump it out, and I'm like, I'm just gonna give it time because everybody seemed to love it. I kept trying it. But it was until like I was halfway through the bottle where I was like, okay, this is actually a pretty good bottle. But I had to drink half of it. So for a $50 bottle where you have to drink half of it for it to be good, I would say is like I'm not really in on it. Now knowing what I know, I would probably just slow it down, maybe open it, get some air circulating in it, and then enjoy it. But that was probably the one where I was the most disappointed just based off what I had heard about it.
I luckily have not spent something on something that I was like, oh, what a complete waste.
Yeah.
But there have been a few that I've been disappointed in that I really was kind of expecting a little bit more. Maybe it was like honestly, I mentioned it already. It's Redbreast 15 is just a name like Redbreast should not put out pure gasoline that is Redbreast 15. Is just, I know I could start my car with that thing. I know it. But I got a separate question for you. What is something that's not in your collection that you would just love to have? Because I have an empty bottle in my collection that I cherish so much that it's actually on my shelf above my bar, but I don't have any more of it. And that's what makes me sad. And it's a very rare Middleton small batch. I have no other bottles of Middleton, and I want another bottle of Middleton so bad. So guys, next Christmas or Hanukkah, I'm right here.
We'll leave the address to get some Middleton sent out. Okay.
Come on.
So I'd done well, we sent some samples through a postal service that you're not supposed to send through. And we did that. And a buddy of mine sent me is it Napogue Castle?
Napogue Castle, my number one whiskey.
That's your go-to, but he sent me the 16. And it's not rare. Like you can find it. I haven't seen it at like the local stores right around.
Is that the maroon label?
I don't know. He sent me a little sample of it, and it was outstanding.
Oh, it's so good, isn't it?
And I said, this is incredible. Like I don't care about the Pappy, the BTAC. Like of course, if somebody said you can get that at cost at MSRP, I'm in. But when you see it for 4 times like what the suggested retail price is, there's no chance.
I want to take back one thing I said. There is a bottle. There's an American bottle that I want on my list. And it took you saying Pappy for me to think of it, but it's not Pappy. I think Pappy's the most overrated whiskey in the history of Earth.
Everybody says.
That price point is like, what are you talking about? I wouldn't pay $10 for this.
No. However,
George T. Stagg is really, really good. Oh my goodness, do I want that bottle.
Yep.
That is
the Eagle Rare 17. I'll throw that as my Great White Buffalo. The Eagle Rare 17.
I've never had the 17.
No, and they just put out a 20-year, and I don't know if it's the decanter that's so cool that I want it, but I do want the 20-year Eagle Rare because I think Eagle Rare is outstanding. $30 bottle, like Eagle Rare is great.
Oh, it's great. It's a great bourbon. It's I have like a list of these American bourbons that I feel like are right on par with each other. It's Eagle Rare, Angel's Envy, and a couple, not all of them, but a couple of Elijah Craig's.
Yeah.
Elijah Craig small batch, I could drink that all day. That's great stuff.
$24. I mean, like the C920, I go get the barrel proof and I try it out. And I look at the thing, I'm like 134 proof. I'm like, that's going to be a little warm. And I took a sip and it was just, we're just showing off at that point. We're just showing off, like, I can make the highest proof bottle of bourbon ever made. And I'm not, and it was tasty, but I don't normally put ice or water in it, but I had to put it in the 133 or 134 proof. It did open it up and give some really nice flavors, but dude, like it was so hot. Like I can't drink this.
That
No,
proof, I mean, anytime you're drinking a whiskey that you could, take a lighter and just set that thing on fire, you're going to be warm for the night. You're not going to be cold.
What I do love is I found my little honey hole out here in West Phoenix. There's a Walmart, and I found 4 bottles of Blanton's, Weller Special Reserve, Weller 12, all at like MSRP. I got 2 bottles of Weller 12 for $32.
Okay, I haven't been flying between LA and I've been driving from El Paso to LA, and I drive through Phoenix every single time. Could you give me the address of this Walmart, because this is a magical, mythical place?
Past my house, it's the next exit. It's Watson and Buckeye, and there's a Walmart there, and they've got it's legit. Like they've got some really good stuff out there.
This is the greatest Walmart in the world. I will be there. I will stop by Buckeye. I will get me everything I need. I know Phoenix way too well. For a guy that never technically lived in Phoenix, I did the math, by the way. I did the math in my baseball career because I only had spring trainings in Phoenix. I completely avoided Florida somehow.
Yeah.
I just managed to avoid it. But I have managed to spend 3 full years of my life in Phoenix.
But never lived here.
Never lived there, but I spent 3 full years there. That's a lot of time in Phoenix. So I know Phoenix all too well. I mean, especially West Phoenix.
Yeah. So you played winter ball in Mexico, right?
In Culiacan twice and once in Guadalajara. And it wasn't until I played in Guadalajara that I started to appreciate tequila. So actually, when I do drink, I drink more tequila now than I do whiskey. I like whiskey more, but I could drink it. And I don't get drunk very often. I really don't. Especially not anymore. But if I drank 5 bottles of tequila tonight, I could wake up tomorrow and feel nothing.
Yeah.
That's what actually initially got me on board with tequila. I'm like, oh my goodness, no hangovers. I love this.
We're not talking Cuervo.
No. I'm not drinking the well tequila. Yeah. If you're drinking the well tequila, go ahead and just grab an ice pick and just jam it in your temple.
Dave's tequila.
No. I drink good and Yehos, which are much more, they're aged, so they actually have a much more whiskey finish to them. So I've been taking all my friends who are huge whiskey guys, and I've been kind of converting them a little bit to tequila. It's kind of teaching them about tequila because I spent the last 3 years learning about tequila. And man, I didn't realize how cool tequila actually is, and how the different flavors, the different tastes, all the things they put in. Not unlike whiskey, because the last thing of whiskey I purchased was a Jack Daniel's thing. It was all their selects.
Oh yeah.
And it's a really cool little package. I got it as a gift for Christmas. So I love the single barrel select. I think that's the best thing Jack Daniel's makes, with the exception of the Sinatra Select, which I think is one of my favorite whiskeys. But the single barrel select, their single barrel rye select, and their Jack Daniel Gold Select, these are really, really good. But I remember looking at them, and they give you a chart for each one of them, exactly the flavors and the percentage of the flavors per these whiskeys. Here's how much maple you're getting. Here's how much vanilla. Here's how much charcoal. It's like that much. It's very detailed. It's very cool little charts. In fact, I think I have the charts over here. Tequila has the same tasting patterns like that, which is really cool to me.
It's funny because I'd never got into tequila. I think when I was younger, I'll tell you where it was. I know for a fact it was because I was at Brew Brothers in Reno in the Silver Legacy, and I had tequila, and I never drank it again. Now,
I will tell you this. This is before I even played in Reno.
Huh?
No good things have ever happened at Brew Brothers in Reno.
No.
In the history of Earth.
Nope.
Nothing positive. If you walk into Brew, and I've been to Brew Brothers too many times, and it's not even drinking. I've gone there just for lunch, because you stay in the Silver Legacy when you're an opposing player in the PCL. You're gonna go to the Brew Brothers. You're gonna leave with a story. You don't know what it's gonna be. Something's gonna happen.
And at some point, you're gonna walk by, because you have to, but you're gonna walk by Rumbolians also, and you're gonna hit the dueling pianos. And that's not, my wife and I both went to college in Reno. She was there. She stayed there a while longer after college. I left after college. 6 years was enough for me, but I couldn't, I like going back to Reno, but my God, that little area between the Circus, Silver Legacy, and El Dorado is yeah.
I'll admit, when I first got to AAA, I was 24 years old.
Yeah.
There were a couple of nights where I did crawl.
Yes.
From Circus all the way to Silver Legacy. Not proud of it, but it happened.
Over the little walkway that goes over the street. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and the worst part is there's steps, so I had to crawl up the steps too. Ugh.
But I'll tell you what's funny. Like, so you mentioned tequila. So my old roommate played baseball for a long time, played in the big leagues, played in Japan. He got into tequila, and he gave me a couple of the higher end type ones, and they were really good. But I don't think people realize that those really good tequilas taste nothing like your standard, even like Patron or Cuervo, like nothing. They taste nothing like that.
Oh, and by the way, anyone that tells you, oh, high end, let's go top shelf Patron. No. Patron is not good at all. But there is a tequila that I always tell people to try. Always. If you're a whiskey fan, if you're anything fan, if you drink this tequila, you will love it. It's not, you just put it on the rocks or put it with like a big sphere, or drink it neat because it's fruity and sweet. Herradura, and I hate how I say it. I know I say it as American and white as I possibly can because I cannot roll R's to save my life. Grew up in Santa Monica, California. My high school, Santa Monica High School, is like 80% Mexican. I never learned a word of Spanish. I'm never going to need this. Played in Mexico 3 times. I needed it. My big regret is never learning Spanish.
Would have helped.
But man, oh man, if you try Herradura Ultra Añejo, you'll be hooked. It's a $45 bottle. You'll never want to drink anything else. It is just perfect. Easy, smooth, sweet. And it's fantastic. But like you said, it's nothing like you get a tequila. If you get a margarita, you're getting regular tequila because you're masking it. But if you're going to drink tequila, you got to have something good.
When I was coaching junior college, we decided one year we were going to save all of our bottles and cans, recycle for my buddy's birthday that was on Cuatro de Mayo. And we were going to buy the nicest bottle of tequila we could find. So we saved up, we drank enough that year that we bought a bottle of the Clase Azul. And
great bottle.
Like that was my first experience with like really good tequila. Way different than anything else I'd had. And then I tried the 1942, and I don't know if I liked it, but I don't know.
I like it.
I don't know if it's like, is it just kind of amped up because
it's one of those, it's like Patron that they've convinced people that this is a high-end bottle. It's a good bottle. It's fine. It's a nice extra añejo. I'm not a big Don Julio fan, to be honest. Okay. But like, if you're looking for like a really high-end, I have a bottle of, again, Herradura. I have a bottle of Herradura, not Especial. What is it called? Traditional? No. It's their highest end bottle. It's an amazing bottle. Okay. It's an extra añejo. It is Suprema. Suprema. I have a bottle of this, and boy, oh boy, it comes in a leather case. You have to open the doors for it, and in there is the most beautiful bottle of the best tequila you'll ever drink in your life. I have literally tasted it one time, and I refuse to open it again until I have a reason, because my teammate in Mexico sent it to me as a gift. He sent it to me as a retirement gift.
Nice.
It's a little cheaper to buy it in Mexico than it is here. You buy it here, it's like a $500 bottle. Down there, it cost them 300 pesos.
A little different. The conversion works in their favor there.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, it's funny though. Like I was in Germany. I spent 3 months in Germany coaching over there years ago, and drinking nothing but beer, and it was outstanding. And when you get home and you have a Bud Light, it's just not the same as drinking German beer. Now I managed to drink it, but it wasn't anywhere close to being the same as what you have there. So I have to imagine, like, if you get a good tequila in Mexico, it probably is similar to the idea of drinking good beer in Germany.
And yeah, it's funny. We're doing so much talking about alcohol, and if somebody would like look in and be like, "Oh my God, these alcoholics!" No, like I don't like getting drunk at all. I like having a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
I love sipping it. I love talking about it and having a conversation about the experience of it. Yeah. It's a true hobby of mine. It's really something I kind of cherish.
No doubt. And I like introducing people to new bottles also. Like friends will come over and I've probably been accused of this, where people will come over and I'll be like, "Hey, try this. Like, you have to try these different things because they're outstanding."
You need to get on your podcast next. Do you know Joe Weiland at all?
No, I don't.
Joe Weiland, I call him Weiland because I'm a fan of Scott Weiland. It's Whelan, but I'm going to call him Weiland until the day I die. Joe Weiland is a huge whiskey guy. Like he loves we were teammates. I wish I knew he was a whiskey guy. We would have been best friends. Now I see him posting about whiskeys all the time. Like, oh my God, where were you 5 years ago when we were together? You would have been my best man at my wedding, man. What's going on? So Joe Whelan is a guy you gotta get on here. He'll be a great guest.
It's always good. It's good to talk about whiskey with people that like it, that enjoy it and can appreciate, like you said, it's not getting drunk. It's just more about enjoying it, like talking about it, introducing people to new things that they haven't had. Because a lot of people, I think they try it and they like it or they don't like it, and then they kind of give up on it. So if they don't really care for it, if they've had a bad experience, they kind of give up on it, and not without realizing that there's a lot of really good, like we were talking about the Midwinter Night's Dram.
Oh, so good. You're drinking right now pure gold.
But I didn't love ryes, and this is one of the first ryes that I was like, this is incredible. Now, obviously, it's finished, so it has that smoothed out finish. But the Whistle Pig's not finished. That's just straight rye, and I love it. But like until you try more things, and sometimes you might not like a rye because it's a lower end one, and then you try one that's good, and it blows away your expectations, and it becomes a lot better. So now you can kind of expand your horizons a little bit with what you're enjoying.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And you mentioned ryes. Like it was the same thing I did. Like we just talked about. It was the same thing I did with tequila. Like I didn't know what to expect. I don't know anything. I didn't know anything about it, tequila, except, boy, Patron is battery acid. Like that's all I had. Like I used to do Patron shots when I was in college because we thought we were being ballers, but really we were just being stupid children.
just college kids drinking Patron, thinking you're high class.
Yeah, we were. Oh man, we made it. We're drinking Patron.
Patron Silver.
Oh God.
Oh, I know. I'm having nightmares thinking about that.
Oh my God, I just had a horrific flashback. It's like it reminded me of college. But remember when we all thought that? What's it called? Jägermeister was drinkable.
Yeah. Nope.
Yep. We all did it.
Do not see me to touch that right now.
I haven't touched it since 20. I had a bad experience.
Couldn't pay me.
There's no amount to put Jägermeister in my system ever again.
Nope, never. That's one I can assure you. I will never have Jaeger, and I will never have Southern Comfort ever again.
We lived the same life.
Never.
Because when I was in college, the shot of the world was
SoCo.
These SoCo Lime. You drank SoCo Limes in college. You did it. SoCo Limes. Oh God, I'm just having a SoCo Lime in college, and I just tasted it just now. Yep. Jaeger bombs.
Wow.
Oh, never do that again. Ever again. I haven't had a shot since college. Don't worry. But I'm just saying this is what we did in college because we were stupid. SoCo Limes, Jaeger bombs, and I remember another thing with SoCo that we used to do because me and a couple of teammates had a night class. We had one night class that was in like a perfect night. It was like Thursday night at 8:00 for 2 hours. Don't know how this class existed. I remember it was an automatic A. All I had to do was write a 12-page paper at the end of the semester, and I could write a 12-page paper right now in 30 seconds. I just couldn't do it. That being said, we went to it because we found the class fascinating, and we used to get drunk before we went. I'm not saying I'm proud of this. It's just funny. But it was SoCo. And God, I can't believe I'm saying this. SoCo Dr. Peppers that we really were so inventive that we called Dr. Comforts. So we went in, we drink half a Dr. Pepper, and then we'd fill the other half with SoCo. Mm-hmm. And we'd go drinking in class. And I look back thinking, my goodness, you pathetic child.
You idiot.
What are you doing? That's embarrassing.
If I walked in my house with a Dr. Pepper, first my wife would wonder what was wrong with me. If I told her I was drinking a SoCo and Dr. Pepper, it'd be
I feel nothing but shame right now.
Zero. It's not good.
Oh, horrible.
Oh, Cody, I will let you go, man. Listen, I really appreciate all of your time. Man, between your baseball, whiskey, like I've really enjoyed chatting with you and really appreciate your time tonight.
Tony, this was an absolute blast. I had more fun doing this than any show combined. Really, this was great. Thanks, man.
We'll do it again sometime.
I can't wait.
All right. Thanks.